Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and internet trolls, and welcome to Fan Fridays, the show where I give outsiders an inside look into the mind of an MLB All-Star. If you've ever wondered how I get a 12-6 break on my curveball from such a low arm slot, stay tuned, because I answer that question and a whole lot more right after this intro. All right, before I answer this week's questions, I just wanted to say I've received a lot of great submissions so far, many that deserve a little longer answer than I can give in this format, so I'm excited to announce Tips with Trev, my new show designed to give developing baseball players some easy tips to end their slumps faster and become a superstar sooner. I'll be launching that in the next couple weeks, so hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss out. All right. First question of the day comes from Janice Schnurr, who asks where my next move is and says she'd hate to see me leave Cleveland and Cincinnati. Janice, thanks for the question. I don't know where my next move is, actually. I don't really control that yet. I'm going to be with Cincinnati to start the year, I think. I guess I could get traded still. Probably unlikely, but yeah, I'll be with Cincinnati to start. Hopefully I'm there all year, which means we're in the playoffs and we're going deep in the playoffs and hopefully winning a World Series. That's what it's all about. And then after that, I don't know. After this year, I'll be a free agent. So I guess we'll see what the market's like. We'll see what kind of year I have, what teams want me, what teams don't want me. It'll be interesting, but I'll bring you along for the ride with me. I promise you that. Question number 2 comes from Nick Kennedy, who asks when he should start doing showcases to get his name out there. He asks if I recommend Perfect Game and notes that they're expensive. I recommend not doing showcases. That's kind of an unpopular take in today's travel ball, youth baseball landscape, but I don't think that you need to do them to get noticed. I think that the most important thing that you can do is develop a skill set that plays at the next level. Throw harder, throw more strikes, throw better breaking pitches, run faster, field the ball better, develop your arm strength, hit the ball harder, hit more home runs. There's so much you can do to develop that if you do that, the scouts generally tend to find you. And nowadays with stuff like Pitching Ninja's Flat Ground app, even if you're in a remote area and the scouts don't naturally find you, you can upload some videos online for free and get in contact with a really large network of college coaches. So I just don't see a need to pay all that money to be ranked on a list or I don't know. I didn't do any showcases. I played tournaments to work on skill sets, and at one of those tournaments, there's a couple college coaches there watching because there's a lot of good players that I was playing against, and I threw hard and performed pretty well. And I had 3 calls the next day, and that's really what kicked off my recruiting process. So just get good at what's going to make you a powerful, impactful player at the next level, and everything will work out. Next up with question 3 is Brandon Nelson, who has a very interesting question. He asks, what are the pros and cons of having a fastball that has very high spin efficiency, but very low spin rate? For example, a fastball at 86 miles per hour with 1900 RPM and 98% efficiency. Is there a high-level description of how this pitcher should think about attacking hitters with his fastball? There's a lot that goes into this. Ultimately, what matters to the hitter is the velocity and the movement. Spin rate's great because it influences movement, and spin axis or alignment and efficiency and all that is important too because that affects the movement. But the best way to think about it is to look at the movement itself. Is the movement average, below average, above average? Does it have more lift or less lift than other fastballs that hitters at that level normally see? Does it have more run or less run? Does it have an average run? The worst thing you can be is average. Hitters see an average fastball day in, day out, and they get really good at hitting it. So do something that's going to differentiate you from having an average fastball. Having really high spin efficiency is great. Generally speaking, lower velocity, lower RPM, you would want a little lower spin efficiency or just a really tilted fastball. That's the other thing about it is like what is the spin direction on it? Because if it's a true backspin fastball at 98% efficiency, that's a lot different than a ball that's spinning at, let's say, a 130 on a clock face with 98% efficiency. So there's just a lot to go into this. It's not as simple as I wish it was. I can't give you like a really direct answer. But generally speaking, on broad terms, the lower the velocity and the lower the spin rate, you'd want to tilt the axis more towards side spin, and you'd want to add in some gyro component if you could. That generally gets more towards like a changeup or a split or something like that. But there are people that throw sinkers that are at 2 to 230 that have some gyro component to them at low velocity. Kyle Hendricks is one of those guys and has a ton of success with it. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. I guess I would just need a little bit more information probably to give you a really specific example, but hopefully something I said there helped you out. Jeff Rosiak? Sorry, Jeff, I don't know how to pronounce that, but you have a very interesting question, number 4. He says, he and his son appreciate that I share my baseball journey and workouts transparently via the web and social media. They're currently doing their own workout regimen and looking for my help to increase arm strength and durability. Dylan is 16 years old, a high school junior, and is still smaller than most of the kids, but he hopes to play longer than they do. Well, that I can kind of identify with that because I was shorter and smaller than the majority of the kids that I played against all the way through college, honestly. When I left college, I was 6 feet tall and 170 pounds maybe. The majority of people I played against had 20 or 30 pounds on me. So I definitely know what that's like. Good news is that it doesn't really matter if you just continue developing your skill set. When you do hit your growth spurt, scouts are going to find you and you'll be able to play. So that's the good news. As far as developing the arm strength and what workouts to do, it's really complicated. I can't get into everything, obviously, but to try to simplify it, try to throw hard. That's the biggest thing. You have to have the intent. Be athletic, so play a lot of shortstop, throw on the run, throw from different arm angles. Just teach your body how to move fast and to try to throw hard. You got to lift. You got to get in the weight room. You got to get stronger. Generally speaking, at 16 years old, you're nowhere close to your kind of baseline strength measures. So upper body, lower body, pretty much everything. You're just trying to get a strength base and get stronger and put on muscle mass. That's going to help. Long toss can help for sure. Work out slow, and then throw some from max distance and try to throw it on a line coming in. Always keep in mind that you're supposed to hit your catch play partner in the chest or within one step left or right or front and back. As soon as you start getting kind of spraying balls a little bit more, you start getting off, then that's probably a good indication that you should stop at that distance and then start pulling down and come in. So those are some suggestions. Certainly would like to help you more. Hopefully I'll have some more videos and tips with Trev that can answer more of these questions for you and be a resource for you. All right, question number 5 comes from Jim Lyle, who is curious how much being passionate plays a role in being a great player. Well, I think with anything in life, being passionate is super important. The only way you get to become a great player is if you put in a lot of work, a lot of hours to get there, and the only way you can maximize those hours is if you're super passionate about what you're doing. The people who just show up to practice to be there, to hang out with the guys, they don't really enjoy practice, they don't really love the game, but they're just kind of there. Those guys don't make it very far. In anything in life, really, from my experience. So yeah, being passionate plays a huge role in it. You got to enjoy what you're doing. You got to enjoy the process. There's a lot of ups and downs. Baseball is a game of failure for sure. And if you aren't passionate about it, both the training and the competition, then you'll be done in a pretty quick second there. Question number 6 comes from Mr. Is Guac Extra himself, Tyler Wagner. He wonders how I get a 12-6 break on a curveball from such a low arm slot. Well, I'm definitely going to have a tips with Trev on this out at some point, but for now, it's kind of a trick out of my hand. The way I grip it, I should have a baseball with me, but I don't have one right now. But anyway, the way I grip it, the way my hand comes through, it kind of rolls off of my thumb and then rolls off my middle finger, and then my pointer finger kind of pushes it a little bit because I throw a spike grip. So The ball rolls off. It kind of changes spin directions twice in my hand, or before it actually fully leaves my hand. And yeah, it comes out with kind of like this direction, spinning kind of like this, which isn't really 12-6, but then when my pointer finger pushes it that last little bit, it pushes the bottom of the ball forward, kind of forward and up. And so it goes from like this axis to like that axis. And it's not perfectly 12-6. I get 5 inches of run or something like that on average. But pretty close to 12-6, and probably the closest I'm ever going to get from my current arm angle. So yeah, hopefully I can get some more information up on that soon. And last but not least, question number 7 is courtesy of Melissa Mentzner, who wonders if I miss being in Cleveland. Okay, so this got taken wrong in the media earlier, and now that I have a longer form platform to really express myself, let's get to it. I'm going to talk first about the things that I do miss, because the answer is yes and no. It's complicated. There's things that I do miss, there's things that I don't miss. So let's talk about the things that I do miss, because those are the vast majority of the things. Starting off with the fans, man, just the support for the team, for the city, the passion, the pride in the city, the pride in their sports, the pride in just being a member of Cleveland. It's something that, growing up in LA, and it's just such a big, sprawling city, like that was really cool. It didn't really exist in LA. I didn't really sense that people were super proud to be from LA, but people are definitely really proud to be from Cleveland, and that's something that really stood out to me. My teammates, a lot of them I played with for 6 years. Berto specifically, I started with him in 2013 in AAA, and he was kind of my catcher my entire time there. So yeah, I miss Berto a lot. I miss my boy Nick Goody and Clev and Beebs and KP. Again, I could run down the whole list of guys. I think that kind of speaks to relationships that I built while I was in Cleveland. Relationships with my teammates, with all of our clubhouse staff. Frank, Scotty, Baller, Tony, Brandon, Beth, our massage therapist, James, like all the trainers, all the staff, the chefs, and the ballpark attendants who took great care of my family while they were there watching games. Like all the relationships that I built there, both in the organization and out in the community, people that I met, like really close friends of mine that I'll be friends with for life. Some of the organizations that I got to work with as part of my charity campaigns, and some of those organizations are doing such great work in the community and affecting a lot of kids in really positive ways. And I miss that for sure. Interacting with Max Hayes High School and Progress with chess and My Inner Warrior, like softball and wiffle ball, and there's just so many things about the relationships there in Cleveland. I think that's really what it comes down to. Is there's a lot of people that I won't see nearly as much now, but I still think about, and they made a really big impact on me over my time there. And shoot, when I went to Cleveland, I was 23, 22. I don't remember. I was really young. Didn't know exactly who I was yet. I was still kind of coming into my own, and when I left, I was 28 and knew a lot more about myself, and had really kind of settled in and gotten comfortable with who I am and what's important to me. And so like the people of Cleveland, I was there 6 months out of the year, and if you include spring training, it's another 2 months basically. So 8 months a year for 6 years, just being around the people and the organization and whatnot. Like it was really a formative time for me. So there's a lot of great memories there. And that's really like how I look back on it, is like the positive stuff. There are certain things that I don't miss about it, and this is kind of where it got taken wrong. Not many, like compared to all the things that I do miss about it, there's really very few in comparison. I don't really need to get into exactly what it was, but feeling like it's okay to be yourself, and that it's encouraged, you're encouraged to be yourself is really big. And sometimes I didn't feel like that was the case. Sometimes the work environment got a little heated, and I don't know. There's you'd take a different route through the clubhouse so you didn't have to see someone some days. And, it's just stuff like that goes along with any sort of long-term relationship, but being together, for 9 months out of the year, 8-9 months out of the year, and sometimes you see things a little bit differently, or you grow. That was one thing too that, I looked at the world a lot differently when I was 22 than I do today. There's room for personal growth. I think that's something that's not talked about enough in society. What you thought 30 years ago or what you did 30 years ago may or may not be what you think or do today. You may have changed. Hopefully you've grown as a person and kind of changed what you think and how you act and what's important to you and stuff like that. So, kind of being tagged with the same false narrative that I was tagged with in 2012 in Arizona for the entirety of my time in Cleveland was not fun for me because, I saw how I had grown, and I felt like a lot of times other people didn't recognize that or didn't give me the chance or give the situation a chance to even see the differences. And there's a lot of things that kind of go on behind the scenes that, some fans don't know about, and there's a lot of speculation, but at the end of the day, it's a relationship. There's, things are said behind people's backs. There's, people form opinions of each other that, are really hard to break. And sometimes you just need some separation to really get a grasp of, what it really was. What was the positive? What was the negative? How are you going to look back on that time? Is it something you want to forget completely? Is it something you're going to look back on and smile? And I think to wrap it all up, when I look back on my time in Cleveland, it's definitely going to be with a smile. It's definitely going to be with, positive memories of all the people, all the organizations, all the relationships, the fans, the games that I was a part of, the special run that we were on, all the things that are so positive in my head that, that'll be the enduring memory and my enduring impression of Cleveland. And, look forward to being back and playing the team and seeing all my friends again next year. And on that note, that's all for this episode of Fan Fridays. As a quick reminder, these videos are only possible if you get involved. The more questions I'm asked, the more I answer. So if you like this video, tap the like button. Share it with your friends and encourage them to drop their questions in the comments below. And if you'd like a shout out in a future episode, head over to trevorbauer.com, sign up for my email list, and submit your questions on the homepage. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. Thank you for watching as always, and I'll see you next week for another Fan Friday.